Today I'm going to show you how to set up a router on a stick, this network right here, that's connected to a Linksys Wireless Router. I'm going to show you how to configure that, and this laptop here will pick up the DHCP signal from the wireless router. I'm also going to show you how to set up trunks on two switches and a trunk for the router on a stick, and I'm going to show you how to set up the PCs and how to set these up with Cisco PortFast. And so first thing I'm going to do is go in and start setting up the computers. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to just go to the desktop on this, and we'll set up the IP address of 192.168.2.6, and that's going to be a /24 mask, and a default gateway of 192.168.2.1. So that one's set up, and we'll go to the next one, and we'll set this one up, move that out of the way, do the IP here. We're going to do 192.168.3.6, and that'll be 24 mask again, and we'll do a default gateway of 192.168.3.1. And then let's set this computer up. I'm going to go to the desktop again, and we'll do 192.168.2.7, and we're going to do a /24 mask and a default gateway of 192.168.2.1. Set up the other PC. It's PC 0 here because it won't let you, unless you started with a higher number when you set up your labeling. I didn't do that, so I can't do PC 1 and then start, because it won't allow you to do that, start over. So we're going to do PC 0 here, and it's going to be a 192.168.99.1 with a /24 mask. And we'll leave the default gateway for right now. Okay, the next thing we'll do is set up the trunks. And the best thing to do when you start up a switch for the first time for security's sake, you want to go in and shut down all of the interfaces, so that only the interfaces that you administratively bring up will be active. It creates a security hole if you have switches active that nothing's connected to. So we're going to enable configuration T, and we're going to do interface range FA01 through 24. We're going to shut down, and then we're going to do, I'm going to come out of here, we'll do interface range GI1-1, GI1-2. And we're going to shut those down. Those are your gigabit ports. And we'll exit out of there. We'll do the same thing on here. Go into our command line, enable config T, interface range FA01 through 24, shut, interface range GI1-1, GI1-2, shut. Okay, so now we can go in and set up our trunks. So we're going to go into our configuration mode. We're going to do interface range FA01, FA06, and FA07, and we're going to do switch port mode trunk, and we'll EX out of that. And we're going to go into, oops, forgot to enable the interface. Let me go back in and do that. Sometimes we forget things. So let's go into interface range FA01, FA06, and FA07. And we're going to do a no shut. And those are down because the other ones are not up. So we'll go over here and we'll do an interface range again of FA06 and FA07, and we'll do a no shut. And when these come up, it should force an election depending on which switch has the higher values, but we'll see if how the election turns out in a second. Okay, so this switch right here is going to be the root, and this will be, we'll go in here, we can verify. Let's see how this is set up. So let's end here. We'll go into okay, so we'll do a show spanning tree to see who's the root bridge, and it says this one is the root, this bridge is the root. So we'll do it on the other side, and you can see in that show spanning tree, and you can see this one is not the root. You can see the port here, this root is forwarding and FA07 is blocking. Okay, so in this exercise you're going to create VLANs for your VLAN 2 and VLAN 3. We're going to go ahead and let the switch create it when we go into configure our switch port access. So we're going to do config T, we're going to do interface FA02, we're going to do switch port mode access, we're going to do switch port access VLAN 2, and it created VLAN 2 for us, and then we're going to go in and we're going to tell it to do a maximum of 2, so we're going to do our switch port security, switch port security. You can scroll up and we'll do switch port security. We're going to do a maximum of 2 MAC addresses. So we can go up here, we can scroll up with the arrow key, and we're going to do MAC address. And what we need to do now is we need to go into PC1 and grab a MAC address off of here. So we can go in here, we'll go to fastethernet. We're going to grab this MAC address right here. Going to copy that, close that out, go back to switch 1, and we're going to paste it in. Need a space right there. No, don't do that, I forgot. Okay, so let's do space, and there we go. We'll hit enter, and now we're going to tell it to do a violation of restrict, which basically will log the access. So do switch port security violation, restrict. And now we're going to configure spanning tree PortFast, which is very easy. You just do spanning tree and then just do PortFast, and that's it. Now it's telling me that because I haven't enabled the port, so we're going to do a no shut, and there we go. Okay, so now we're going to go in and we're going to configure our FA03 port. So interface FA03, and we're going to do the same thing that we did before. We're going to do switch port mode access, switch port access VLAN 3, and it created it for me. And now we're going to do the port security. Port security. Scroll up again. We're going to tell it to do a maximum of 2 addresses. You can tell it to do 1, and it'll only accept the one PC that it's connected to. So we're just going to do 2, and we'll do switch port. Switch port. Port security, and we're going to do our MAC address again, and we're going to go into PC2, and we're going to go into configuration tab. We're going to grab the MAC address off of here, copy that, close that out, go back into the switch, and we're going to tell it, paste it right here, hit enter, and now we're going to tell it to do a violation restrict again, which will log the access, the invalid access. Oops. Help if I could spell. Port security, and we're going to tell it to do a violation of restrict. And again, we'll configure Cisco's PortFast. So we're going to do spanning tree PortFast. And again, it's telling me that because I haven't brought the interface up. So we're going to do a no shut. And that changed to state up. Now let's go into switch 2. We're going to enable T. Let's move this out of the way so you can see what's going on here. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing we did on the other ones. And let's see. Okay, so let's do interface FA02. And we're going to do switch port mode access. Oops. And we're going to do, this is going to be on VLAN 2, so we're going to do switch port access VLAN 2. And so it created it for me because it doesn't exist. Again, we're going to do the port security, so we're going to do switch port security, and we're going to do a maximum of 2, and we're going to do, okay, let's do MAC address, and we're going to grab the MAC address off of this switch. Go into the config tab, go to fast ethernet, grab this MAC address, copy, go back into switch 2, and we're going to paste it right here. Hit enter, and then again we're going to tell it to do violation restrict. Violation restrict. Now the way it's auto-completing is I'm hitting the tab, I'm doing the first few couple letters, and it'll auto-complete it for you. Now we're going to configure PortFast again, so spanning tree, PortFast, and again it's saying it's not going to come up because I haven't enabled the interface, so we're going to do a no shut, and so it should be up now. Okay, so now we're going to configure VTP, and we're going to do, well, first let's configure our management VLAN and our default gateway on the switches. So let's go into AL switch 1, let's do our management VLAN. So we're going to do X, we're going to do interface VLAN 227, and we're going to exit out of that, and we're going to do interface VLAN 227, and we're going to give it the management address right here. So we're going to give it IP address of 192.168.1.2, and it's a /29, which is a 248 mask, so it's 255.248. Okay, and we're going to do a default gateway. So we're going to IP default gateway, and our default gateway is going to be 192. We're just going to use 192.168.1.1. So it's going to be 192.168.1.1. Okay, so now we've done that. Now let's configure our VTP servers. So we're going to do VTP mode server. It's going to tell me it's already the server because all switches are already configured as servers by default. And we're going to give it a VTP domain name of learn1. So it's telling me that it configured it to learn1, and we'll give it a password of Cisco. Okay, so now let's go into the other switch, and we'll configure our management VLAN. So let me move this over. Our management VLAN on here is 192.168.1.3. So we're going to do interface VLAN 227, and we're going to exit out of that, and we'll do interface VLAN 227. We'll give it an IP address 192.168.1.3 and 255.255.255.248. Okay, so now we're going to go in and configure our default gateway. So we're going to do IP default gateway 192.168.1.1. And now we're going to configure our VTP mode, which this one is going to be the client. So we're going to say VTP mode client. And we're going to do our VTP domain name of learn1. Which is already set to that because it was pushed. And I imagine our VTP password must have already been pushed too. So let's get out of here. So here I've already configured the password Cisco, so it's set up to accept the password of Cisco. And now we will go out of here. So now we're going to show that we have our VLANs. And right now we've got VLAN 2 right here. And let's see what else. Okay, so now I'm going to get put in the VLANs and bring them up. So I've already done this here. I did VLAN 227 and brought that one up. So now we're going to do VLAN 2, and we can name that, if we want, we can name it PC1. We don't have to, you can just do that. And it may end up pushing that name to the other PC, which is PC3, and then we can do VLAN 3, and we can name that PC2, and we can exit out of this, and we can end, and we can do a show VLAN to see if they're all in there. So we got 2 and 3, and our VLAN 227, which is active, which is our management. You can never get rid of VLAN 1, it's always active. So let's see if that got pushed to our switch 2. So let's end, show VLAN, and see it did send the names. We could take that off of there, or I can go back in here and change that to, let's go back and change it to VLAN 2, oh, whoops, VLAN 2, and let's name it PC, let's do PC1 and PC3, and we'll exit out of there, we'll end, and let's see, show VLAN. So now we have it showing PC1 and 3 are on VLAN 2. And we'll see if that was pushed to switch 2. And we'll do show VLAN. And indeed it was pushed to PC2. That's the beauty of VTP. Okay, so now we're going to start configuring our router on a stick. And we're going to start here. We're going to go into the HQ and we're going to select command line. Hit enter. We're going to enable the router, config T. And the first thing we want to do, move this back out of the way, is configure our loopback, which is loopback 1. And I just made one up, so it's going to be loopback 1. And we're going to do interface loopback 1, and it'll bring it up, and we're going to give it an IP address. Oops, screwed up there. We're going to do interface loopback 1, and we're going to do IP address, and we're going to give it the one I made up, which is 5.5.5.5. with a 32 mask, which is 255, 255, whoops, 255, 255. What that quad 255 means basically is just that it's going to somewhere else, some other network, somewhere else. That's how it was explained to me anyway. That's the best analogy I can give it. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to exit out of this. We're going to bring up that FA0 port, and that's going to be FA00. And so the port's coming up. Now, router and a stick interfaces, the way these interfaces are done, they're a little bit different. They use the encapsulation of .1.q, and you have to specify the VLAN that it's going to refer to. So basically the way you do this is we're going to go out of here, we're going to do interface FA00.2, and that's going to give us a sub interface. As you can see right here, it changed to a sub interface, and we're going to give that an encapsulation of .1q, and we're going to give it the VLAN 2, and we're going to give it the IP address, which is basically the default gateway that you see down here. So it's going to be IP address, and it's going to be 192.168.2.1, and that's going to have a 24 mask. Okay, so the next one we're going to bring up is the VLAN 3, so it's going to be the same thing that we did, but only you're going to do a .3, so it's going to be interface FA00.3, and that came up, and we're going to give it an encapsulation of .1q, and we're going to tell it refers to VLAN 3, and the IP address, which is that default gateway of PC2, which is 192.168.3.1 with a 24 mask. The next one we're going to do is the management. So we're going to do interface FA00.227. And we brought that up, and we're going to do encapsulation again, .1q, and 227 VLAN, and the IP address. What we're going to give it is the default gateway that we assigned to the switches, which is the 192.168.1.1. Oops. And that was a 24 mask. It was a 29 mask, excuse me. Okay, the next thing we want to do is we want to bring up fastethernet 01 and give it this address right here. So we're going to exit out of this, and we're going to do interface FA01, and we're going to give it IP address of 222.2.2.1 with a /30, which is 255, whoops, 255.255.25, oh, I'm going too fast, 252, no shut. Okay, we're going to get out of here. I should mention that if this bridge did not become the root bridge, you would basically have to do force an election. You would have to do a spanning tree for each VLAN, and I usually give it priority of 4096, the lowest that you can get, to ensure that this switch right here will become the root. Basically at spanning tree VLAN 227, priority 4096 is the command in configuration mode. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to set up our laptop so it'll receive wireless. And the way you're going to do that is we're going to scroll down here, and you can see there's nothing in this slot, but we have a wireless dongle right down here. So we're going to drag that up in here. We're going to put that there, and we'll turn the laptop on. We'll close that, and now you can see we have the wireless, these little lines here denoting the wireless signal. And we're going to go in and we're going to configure our Linksys router. So I'm going to move this over here, and we don't want automatic configuration. We're going to do a static IP, and our internet IP address is going to be this outside address right here, 222. So we're going to put that in. And we'll do the subnet mask of 255, 255, 255, 252. And now we're going to do the default gateway, which is going to be this address right here as our default gateway. Okay, now that we've got that done, we're going to scroll down and we're going to do an IP address here, our router IP, which it shows right here, and says right here DHCP 192.168.99.x, probably x equals 6, so we'll use that. So whoops. So we're going to do 99.6, and we're going to have the subnet mask as 24 mask, and we have our DHCP server enabled, and this is our starting IP address, and this will be our maximum number of users that are allowed on, be 50. So we're going to scroll down here, and we're going to tell it to save these settings. Okay, so now we're going to go in and we're going to set up our wireless, and we're going to leave this as mixed. We're going to leave it at 1 to 2, and we're going to go under wireless security, and we're going to enable, not WEP, but we'll enable WPA2 personal for now. And we're going to create a password. We'll just do 1122334455. Obviously, you wouldn't want to do that in a production setup. You want to have something a little bit more complicated. Okay, so we're going to scroll down and we're going to tell it to save these settings. Okay, so now we're going to close out of here. So after we closed out here, as you can see, we've lost our connection. So we're going to go into the laptop and we're going to go under PC Wireless. And right here it says there's no access point, no association. Okay, so where I went wrong before is I messed up. I need to go back into my Linksys, and I need to go back onto wireless and wireless security. Basic settings, and I need to create a network name. So it's going to be so this is not going to let me do it in capitals, so we'll just do Soho 49. We'll leave it at that. Save the settings. We're going to get out of here. Okay, we're going to go into the laptop now. We'll go under PC Wireless and Profiles, and we're going to create a new profile. We'll just call it Soho 49. And we're going to go into Advanced Setup, and we're going to leave it as Infrastructure Mode. And here it says the wireless network name is shared by all devices on wireless networks, case sensitive. So we're going to set it up as Soho. Do not know why it's not letting me capitalize these. Let's try it again this way. 49. Next. And we're going to leave it to obtain them automatically. And we're going to do it as WPA2. And this is the key. We're going to do the 1122334455 that we did before. And we're going to tell it to save. And we're going to tell it to connect. And it says I've successfully connected to the access point. So what we can do here is go back in here, we can look under connect, and we can see it'll bring up my Soho 49. And it shows here WPA2. So we're already connected. So what we're going to do is go in here, and you can see under DHCP that it's received the IP address from the wireless router and the default gateway that we set up. So to make sure it's working, I like to ping, right now I'm going to do a ping. I'll just go ahead and ping the this address right here, and which I already did, but I'll do it again to show you that it's working. And it's replying, so everything was set up there correctly. Okay, one thing that we need to do now is we want to be able to SSH into the router from one of the computers. So we're going to go into our router, and we're going to do an enable config T, and in order to SSH into a router, we're going to have a secret password. So I always set those up last so I don't have to keep doing it every time I go into configure. So we'll enable secret, and we're going to do class. So that's set up, and now we're going to configure SSH. So let's do it on FA00. We'll just make up an IP address. We're going to use 172.16.0.1. So we'll do interface FA00, IP address 172.16.0.1, and we'll use 255.255.0.0 mask. And now we're going to do, we'll give it an IP domain name, so we'll just say IP domain say learn.com, and we're going to give it a, let's see, we'll generate a crypto key for RSA, so we're going to do crypto key generate RSA. It's telling me to define a host name other than router, so I need to give it a host name, which is HQ. So that's all basic stuff we should have done in the beginning, but I didn't want to do it at that time, so we'll do it now. So we're going to do host name HQ. So now we'll do it again. We'll do crypto key generate RSA. And now it's telling me how many bits I want to do. I'll do 1024. And it generated them for me. And I'm going to tell it IP SSH version 2. And last part, we're going to make sure that only SSH can be done on this router and not telnet. So we'll do transport input SSH. Oops. Okay, so I messed up there, so I forgot we have to be in line mode, which is going to be line VTY 0 through 4, and we're going to tell it to do transport input SSH, and we're going to give it a username of Cisco secret class, so we're going to do username Cisco and then secret class, and we'll tell it to just do a login local. Oops, messed up there. VTY 04 login local, and we'll do end, and let's go back and configure our switches with we're going to configure it with a secret name, a secret username. So let's enable secret class, and we're going to set up our lines, and we're going to tell it to use the password of Cisco, and we'll tell it to log in. And we're going to exit out of this. And then we're going to do host name. I'll move this out of the way. Bring that back up. Host name. And it's going to be AL switch 1. And we're going to leave these so that you can telnet into them. You could do SSH on these too, but for now we'll just leave it as a telnet. Let's go over here and do this one. And we'll enable our lines. Password Cisco, and login, and we'll exit out of there, and we'll do our host name of AL switch 2. And we're going to end there. Now let's see if we can telnet to one of the user PCs down here. Let's do ping 192.168.2.6, and we get a reply. And let's ping 192.168.3.6. And we get a reply. And let's ping 192.168.2.7. And I get a reply that tells me my router on a stick is working. And let's see if I can SSH into the router. So we're going to do SSH, that's the hyphen, and we're going to do a L. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't complete the command. It's going to be hyphen, and let me move that out of the way, space, Cisco, and our IP address we gave it, which was 172.16.0.1, and I was able to SSH. It wants the password, and I'm in the router. So I can enable that, and class. Oops, I don't know why I did that. Let's do a show run, and we can see we've been able to SSH into the router. It shows everything that was set up. And now I can hit exit to get out of there and go back to my PC. So that's basically the whole setup there, and I hope that it helped you in some way.